Elon Musk discreetly entered a luxurious watch store, wearing a simple gray shirt, faded jeans, and a worn-out cap, trying to go unnoticed. The judgmental glances came quickly, but he remained calm. What he would do next would leave everyone in the store in shock, especially the employee who dared to underestimate him. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. Let's begin the story. Elon Musk walked into Aram, a high-end watch boutique, dressed in casual, slightly worn-out clothes. His simple t-shirt had a few wrinkles, and his sneakers looked well used. There were no bodyguards, no assistants, no luxury cars waiting outside. Just him, walking in quietly like any ordinary customer. The store, known for its exclusivity, catered to ultra-rich clients who arrived in tailored suits, flashing designer accessories. The moment Musk stepped inside, he felt the subtle shift in the atmosphere. Employees dressed in elegant uniforms glanced at him briefly before turning back to their tasks. At first, no one recognized him. A few staff members exchanged quick looks, their expressions carrying a hint of doubt. One of them, a tall man with slicked-back hair, leaned toward his colleague. "Looks like a window shopper," he muttered under his breath. Another employee, a woman with a sharp gaze, chuckled softly. "Probably just here to take pictures and dream." Musk, unaware of their whispers, took slow steps around the store, observing the beautifully arranged watches behind glass cases. The boutique was a symbol of wealth: polished marble floors, soft golden lighting, and a quiet sophistication that made customers feel like royalty. Yet, in this world of luxury, he was being seen as an outsider. A few minutes passed and no one approached him. Instead, a well-dressed couple entered the store, and immediately the staff sprang into action. One employee rushed forward with a warm smile, offering assistance. The contrast was clear. Appearances dictated service here. Musk didn't let it bother him. He had experienced this kind of judgment before. Instead of walking out, he decided to test something. He walked over to the most exclusive section of the store, where the rarest watches were displayed. These were timepieces worth millions, pieces that only the wealthiest could afford. As he stood there waiting, a young sales representative finally approached him. But instead of a polite greeting, the man hesitated, looking Musk up and down. His voice carried a polite yet unmistakable arrogance. "Sir, those watches are extremely expensive," he said with a forced smile. Musk raised an eyebrow. "I'd still like to see one." The salesman hesitated. There was a moment of silence before he gave a dismissive chuckle. "Perhaps something from our more affordable collection would be better for you," he suggested. Musk's expression didn't change. He remained calm, his voice steady. "I appreciate the suggestion, but I'd like to see this one," he said, pointing at the most expensive watch on display. The salesman sighed, clearly reluctant. He glanced toward his colleagues, as if looking for backup. But before he could respond, something unexpected happened. A customer standing nearby, a man in his 30s wearing glasses, suddenly gasped. His eyes widened in disbelief as he whispered to himself, "Wait, is that Elon Musk?" The quiet atmosphere of the store changed in an instant. Employees and customers alike turned to look at Musk, their expressions shifting from indifference to shock. The whispers grew louder, and just like that, the entire dynamic inside Aram shifted. The Aram boutique was not just a watch store, it was a temple of wealth and exclusivity. From the moment one stepped inside, the air itself seemed different, carrying the subtle scent of polished wood, leather, and expensive cologne. At the entrance, sleek glass doors with gold-framed handles gleamed under the store's soft lighting. Above them, the boutique's name, ARUM, was displayed in elegant, understated letters, as if it didn't need to announce its prestige too loudly. The moment a customer entered, they were met with a breathtaking interior. The floor was made of polished Italian marble, its smooth surface reflecting the light from the chandeliers hanging above. These chandeliers weren't the overly grand, crystal-heavy kind found in palaces. They were modern, made of gold and delicate glass, casting a warm, inviting glow. The entire store had a quiet ambiance. No loud conversations, no unnecessary noise, only soft instrumental music playing in the background. But the real centerpiece of the store was its display cases. Each watch sat on velvet cushions inside glass enclosures, carefully arranged under individual spotlights. These were not just timepieces. They were masterpieces, crafted with rare metals, encrusted with diamonds, and engineered with precision. The price tags were hidden, a silent message that if you needed to ask, you probably couldn't afford them. Employees dressed in sleek black suits moved with practiced elegance, always ready to cater to customers who entered with confidence. The clientele here was a specific kind: billionaires, celebrities, royal family members, and service was tailored accordingly. Wealthy customers were personally escorted through the store, never left to browse alone. Champagne was sometimes offered to high-profile guests, and private viewing rooms existed for those looking to make a discreet, multi-million-dollar purchase. It was in this world of silent luxury that Elon Musk now stood, dressed in his casual, worn-out clothes. He had walked past all the wealth, all the quiet elegance, and had approached the most expensive section of the store. But unlike other customers, he was not greeted with immediate warmth. The employee who had dismissed him still stood there, unsure of what to do. Around them, other staff members noticed the shift in atmosphere. The man who had recognized Musk was still staring, his mouth slightly open in shock. "Elon Musk?" he repeated, this time loud enough for the entire store to hear. And then, everything changed. Gasps rippled through the boutique. A woman standing by the entrance turned to her husband, whispering urgently. Another man, holding a catalog, did a double-take. The employees, who had been indifferent just moments ago, now exchanged panicked glances. They had made a mistake, a big one. The salesman who had spoken to Musk felt his stomach drop. The dismissiveness in his voice, the slight smirk, the assumption that this man couldn't afford the watch, every detail of his behavior replayed in his mind, now under an unforgiving light. As the realization spread, the quiet elegance of Aram was momentarily disturbed. The employees, the customers, the very air inside the store, everything had shifted in an instant. Elon Musk remained calm as the atmosphere in Aram shifted. The realization had spread like wildfire. Whispers, stolen glances, and nervous expressions filled the store. The employees who had dismissed him just moments ago now looked tense. The salesman who had spoken to Musk, the one with the slicked-back hair and condescending tone, stood frozen for a second. Then, as if jolted awake, he straightened his posture and forced a smile. "Mr. Musk," he stammered, his voice suddenly softer, more respectful. I didn't realize it was you." "Of course, you can see the watch." Elon raised an eyebrow, but his expression remained neutral. He didn't seem angry, nor did he seem particularly amused. He simply stood there, watching the salesman squirm. "I asked to see it earlier," Elon said, his voice calm but firm. "You refused." The salesman swallowed hard. He knew there was no excuse that would sound reasonable now. He had made an assumption, an expensive one. The store manager, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, suddenly appeared. His face was tight with worry. He had heard the commotion and immediately grasped what had happened. A billionaire had just been insulted in his store. "Mr. Musk, I sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding," the manager said, stepping forward with an apologetic smile. "Please, allow me to personally assist you." Elon, however, barely glanced at him. His attention remained on the salesman. Tell me, Elon said, tilting his head slightly. Why did you refuse to show me the watch earlier? The salesman hesitated. He knew the truth, but saying it aloud would only make things worse. He forced another awkward smile. It was just a mix-up, sir. A mistake. Elon let out a small, amused breath. Not quite a laugh, but something close. A mistake, he repeated. Or a judgment. The salesman's face burned with embarrassment. He had no answer. The manager quickly jumped in. It won't happen again, Mr. Musk. Please, let me bring you the watch you requested. But Elon shook his head. No need. The employees watched in stunned silence as he turned away from the display case. Respect shouldn't be based on what someone wears, Elon said, addressing the salesman but making sure everyone in the store could hear. You never know who you're talking to. The words hit harder than any reprimand. The salesman lowered his gaze, his face pale. The other employees stood still, absorbing the lesson. Elon didn't wait for a response. With a small nod, he walked past the stunned crowd and headed for the door. For the first time, Aram, the boutique of quiet luxury, felt truly silent. As Elon Musk turned to leave, the silence in our room grew heavier. The employees who had spent years perfecting their professional demeanor now stood frozen. The customers, once indifferent, whispered among themselves. Then, the man who had first recognized Musk, still standing near the display cases, spoke again, louder this time. "Oh my God, it really is Elon Musk," he exclaimed. His voice broke the tension like a crack of thunder. In an instant, the store erupted. Gasps echoed through the boutique. Some customers instinctively pulled out their phones, their hands trembling with excitement. A woman near the entrance clutched her husband's arm. "Elon Musk is here?" she whispered, her eyes wide. A younger man, dressed in designer clothes, immediately stepped forward. "Mr. Musk, I'm a huge fan," he blurted out. "Tesla changed my life. I own 3. The employees, realizing they were now part of an unfolding public spectacle, scrambled to recover. The once arrogant salesman who had dismissed Musk turned pale. His confident smirk was gone, replaced by sheer panic. "Sir, I'm so sorry," he stammered, taking a shaky step forward. "Please, allow me to show you our finest collection." His voice, which had been laced with arrogance just moments ago, now dripped with desperation. He gestured toward the luxury display, his hands slightly trembling. But Elon simply looked at him, his face unreadable. The store manager, now sweating, rushed in. His carefully composed expression was cracking. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a disaster. "Mr. Musk, we deeply regret this misunderstanding," the manager said, his voice thick with urgency. "Please, let us make it up to you. We'll offer you an exclusive private viewing, anything you'd like." Elon's gaze moved from the manager to the nervous salesman. He could see it now, the sudden shift in their attitude, the desperate attempt to fix their mistake. A few minutes ago, they had dismissed him without a second thought. Now, they were terrified. Elon let the silence stretch for a few more moments before finally speaking. "I already told you," he said simply. "I don't need to see the watch." The crowd, now fully engaged in the scene, murmured in awe. Some nodded in approval, understanding exactly what was happening. The manager opened his mouth to protest but stopped himself. There was nothing left to say. Elon gave a small nod, then turned and walked toward the exit. As he stepped outside, the buzz inside Aram didn't fade. The employees, the customers, even the air itself seemed different. And inside, the salesman who had judged him too quickly stood there, his face still red with humiliation. He had just learned a lesson he would never forget. As Elon Musk stepped outside, the cool evening air greeted him. He took a deep breath, letting the moment settle. Behind him, the atmosphere inside Aram remained tense. The employees stood in stunned silence, and the customers whispered among themselves. But before Elon could walk away completely, the store manager hurried after him. "Mr. Musk, please wait," the man called out, his voice still carrying traces of desperation. Elon stopped but didn't turn around immediately. He glanced toward the street, watching the lights of passing cars, before slowly facing the manager. "Yes?" he asked, his tone calm. The manager's expression was strained with regret. "Please allow us to correct this mistake. We'd love to offer you any watch from our collection as an apology." Elon studied the man for a moment. Behind him, the arrogant salesman had followed, standing a few steps back, his face still pale with embarrassment. His hands were clasped nervously in front of him, and he looked as if he wanted to disappear. But Elon wasn't interested in free gifts. "I don't need a watch," he said simply. The manager hesitated. "Then perhaps a private shopping experience at your convenience?" "We'd be honored." Elon shook his head. His expression remained neutral, but his next words carried weight. "That's not the point," he said. The manager fell silent. The salesman, still watching, swallowed hard. Elon turned slightly and looked directly at the man who had dismissed him earlier. "What happened in there?" he asked. "Tell me honestly, why didn't you want to show me the watch?" The salesman's mouth opened, but no words came out. He had no excuse, no real explanation other than the truth. He had judged Musk based on his appearance. After a moment, he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I assumed you couldn't afford it." A small, ironic smile tugged at the corner of Elon's lips. "And now that you know who I am?" The salesman looked at the ground. His face burned with shame. "I was wrong," he admitted. Elon nodded slightly. "You never know who you're talking to," he said. "And respect shouldn't be based on what someone wears or how they look." The words hung in the air, sinking deep. The customers inside the store, still watching from the windows, nodded in quiet agreement. Even the employees, including the manager, looked down, realizing how shallow their assumptions had been. The salesman, now fully humbled, nodded. "You're right," he whispered. "I should have treated you the same as any other customer." Elon gave a small, approving nod. "That's all I wanted to hear," he said. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving the store and its shaken employees behind. The lesson had been delivered, and the world inside Aram would never be the same again. Back inside Aram, the tension still lingered. The store, usually a place of quiet elegance, now felt suffocating. The manager, still standing by the entrance, turned sharply toward the salesman. His face, previously filled with nervousness, had now hardened. "Step into my office," he said, his voice low but firm. The salesman's stomach twisted. He knew what was coming. Without a word, he followed the manager through a sleek wooden door at the back of the store. The office was minimalist: dark wood furniture, a glass desk, and a leather chair that now looked more intimidating than ever. The manager sat down, exhaling slowly before looking up at the salesman. "Do you realize what you've done?" he asked, his tone controlled but sharp. The salesman swallowed. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" the manager repeated, leaning forward. "You insulted one of the most influential men in the world, in our store." The salesman's hands clenched at his sides. He knew there was no defense. "We pride ourselves on offering luxury service," the manager continued. "But service isn't just about expensive watches and wealthy clients. It's about respect. And you failed at that today." The words hit hard. The salesman lowered his gaze, his chest tight. He'd spent years perfecting his charm, learning how to handle wealthy customers. But today, he had let arrogance cloud his judgment. "I understand," he said quietly. The manager sighed, rubbing his temple. I should fire you." The salesman flinched. He had expected this, but hearing it aloud still stung. Then, after a long pause, the manager's tone softened slightly. "But I won't." The salesman blinked, looking up in surprise. "You'll stay," the manager continued, "but only if you truly learn from this. I don't want this to be just another embarrassing moment for you. I want it to change you." The salesman nodded slowly. "It already has," he admitted. The manager studied him for a moment before finally leaning back. "Good," he said, "because if this ever happens again, you won't get another chance." The salesman understood. Without another word, he turned and left the office, his mind racing. As he stepped back onto the sales floor, everything felt different. The customers were still talking about Musk's visit. His fellow employees gave him cautious glances, and somewhere inside him, a weight settled, a realization that today had been a turning point in his life. He had been humbled, and whether he liked it or not, he would never look at a customer the same way again. After leaving Aram, Elon Musk walked down the street, his hands in his pockets, deep in thought. The night air was cool, and the city lights flickered around him. He wasn't angry. He had experienced moments like this before, times when people judged him for how he looked rather than who he was. As he walked, he passed by several other luxury stores, their bright interiors filled with wealthy customers and polished salespeople. But one small shop caught his eye. It was a modest watch store called Time and Value. The shop's glass window displayed a collection of classic timepieces, not extravagant, not covered in diamonds, just elegant and timeless. The sign above the door was slightly worn, the letters a little faded, but the place had character. Unlike Aram, there were no security guards at the entrance, no intimidating luxury displays, just a warm and welcoming atmosphere. Curious, Elon stepped inside. A soft chime rang as the door opened, and an elderly man behind the counter looked up with a warm smile. "Good evening, sir," the man greeted. His voice was kind, without the forced politeness of luxury salespeople. "Looking for something special?" Elon nodded and approached the counter. The glass case in front of him displayed a variety of watches, some vintage, some modern, but all of them crafted with care. He could tell that this store wasn't about status, it was about passion. "Yes," Elon said, scanning the collection, "something simple, something meaningful." The shopkeeper nodded, understanding immediately. He reached into the display and carefully pulled out a classic pocket watch. It was silver, with a smooth, polished surface. The craftsmanship was excellent. No flashy jewels, no unnecessary decorations, just a beautifully made timepiece. "This one's special," the old man said, handing it to Elon. "It's engraved with an old saying, Tempus fugit, amor manet." Elon ran his fingers over the engraving, reading the Latin phrase. "Time flies, but love remains," he murmured. The words struck him. They felt real, a reminder of what truly mattered in life. Not wealth, not status, but the moments that lasted beyond time. "I'll take it," Elon said with a small smile. The shopkeeper didn't react with shock or excitement. He simply nodded, as if he had expected Elon to appreciate the watch's true value. "Good choice," the old man said, carefully wrapping the watch in a soft cloth. As Elon handed over his payment, he felt something different here, something he hadn't felt in Aram. There was no desperation, no judgment, no need to impress, just honest service and genuine appreciation. As he left the shop, pocket watch in hand, Elon glanced back at the small store. In the end, true value wasn't found in luxury. It was found in authenticity. The next morning, the internet exploded with headlines. "Elon Musk snubbed at luxury watch store, teaches a lesson in humility. Billionaire turned away for looking poor." Musk's response shocks everyone. Social media platforms were flooded with discussions. The surveillance footage from Aram had leaked, showing Musk's calm demeanor as he was dismissed, followed by the salesman's desperate attempt to apologize after realizing who he was. Millions of people weighed in. "This is exactly why you should treat everyone with respect," one user commented. "Elon Musk just walked away without making a scene. That's class." Another wrote. Others shared their own experiences of being judged based on appearance. The incident had sparked a much larger conversation about how society treats people based on superficial assumptions. Aram's reputation took a major hit. Many criticized the store's arrogance, calling for better customer service ethics. Some even vowed to never shop there again. Meanwhile, the story of Musk's visit to Time and Value also spread. People loved how he chose a meaningful pocket watch from a humble store rather than a flashy luxury piece. The small shop gained overnight fame, with new customers arriving just to see the place where Musk had made his purchase. But for one person, the incident had an even deeper impact: the arrogant salesman from Aram. The employee sat alone in a quiet cafe, his coffee untouched. He had seen the online backlash, read the angry comments, and felt the weight of his mistake. For years, he had believed that his job was about catering to wealth, about recognizing power and treating people accordingly. But Elon Musk had shattered that belief in seconds. "You never know who you're talking to?" Those words echoed in his mind. The embarrassment he had felt in that moment wasn't just about being exposed. It was about realizing that he had been wrong, not just with Musk, but with countless others he had dismissed over the years. For the first time, he saw himself from an outsider's perspective. He didn't like what he saw. That night, he made a decision. The next morning, he walked into Time and Value, the humble watch store Musk had visited. The elderly owner looked up, surprised to see a sharply dressed young man standing at his counter. "Can I help you?" the old man asked. The former Aram employee hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes," he said. "I was hoping to apply for a job." The shopkeeper raised an eyebrow. "A job? You worked at Aram, didn't you?" The young man sighed. "I did, but I think I was in the wrong place." The old man studied him for a long moment. Then, with a knowing smile, he gestured toward the watches behind him. "Tell me," he said, "what do you see here?" The young man took a deep breath and looked carefully, not at the price tags, but at the craftsmanship, the history, the meaning behind each piece. This time, he saw value differently, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was finally in the right place. Days passed, but the story didn't fade. It became more than just a viral moment. It became a lesson. People from all over the world discussed it, sharing their own experiences of being judged unfairly. Business owners took note, reminding their employees that true service isn't about who can spend the most money. It's about treating every customer with dignity. Aram, once known for its exclusivity, now carried a different reputation. Their management issued a public apology, but the damage had been done. Customers no longer saw them as the pinnacle of luxury. Instead, they saw them as the store that turned away Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Time and Value flourished. The small watch shop became a symbol of authenticity, drawing customers who valued sincerity over status. The elderly shopkeeper continued his work as he always had, with passion, patience, and respect for everyone who walked through his door. And then there was the former Aram employee. Now working at Time and Value, he had changed. No longer obsessed with wealth, he found joy in connecting with people, really listening to them, understanding their stories, and helping them find watches that held meaning. One afternoon, a man in simple clothes walked into the shop, browsing quietly. The young salesman approached with a genuine smile. "Welcome," he said. "Can I help you find something special?" There was no judgment in his voice, no assumptions. The customer smiled back. "Yes," he said. I think you can. Far away, Elon Musk had moved on from the incident. He never spoke about it publicly, but those who had witnessed it never forgot. Because in the end, his actions had left behind a message, one that didn't need to be spoken to be understood. Respect isn't about wealth, luxury isn't about price, and the true value of a person can never be measured by what they wear. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let us know about your thoughts in the comments section. Also subscribe the channel for daily stories notification.